Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go through the raid plan. Phase 1 we basically have complete. But then we'll go into the kind of the bad overlap and then phase 2. I'm also gonna change up a couple positions, which we can talk about if people are upset about it. But we do the fight to start normally, not changing anything for the initial rotation. For the healing part of this, we can milk this longer if the healers feel like it's beneficial to keep doing it.
Do you want a Discord stream or?
Yeah. I'm doing it on YouTube as well, so go. So yeah, so for the initial like ring around the rosy part, if that's something that like Serene, if you want the healers like to heal a little bit more, or we can milk this a little bit. Not super necessary. I don't see a reason why we need to, but that's an option.
Yeah, it does ramp up pretty fast if you do it any longer, so I don't know that it's really worth considering.
Okay, so we'll leave it as is. And then we kind of have the start of this fight done pretty well. One of the things with these frontal baits and the red beam positioning, I've already talked to Seb a little bit about it and gave him a POV. But oh, that's not what I wanted. For these frontal baits, let me get to a good spot. It doesn't really matter if the boss is like this far up for this initial frontal bait because the tanks need to get threat. This is fine. This is the POV that I gave him to kind of mirror what I want the tanks to be doing. But as you can see, like he drags back a little bit, and then we do this frontal. This one's been being handled pretty decently, so there's no real reason to really worry about it. Making sure the ads die right here before these Giga Coils go off. The Giga Coil cast is what makes the blue swirlies, so the faster that we have the mine ready, the faster we don't have to deal with the blue swirlies overlapping with the soak mechanic. Speaking of soaks, I'm switching Naoma with Zerda for this can be Brandon too. I don't really care which warlock for the fourth soak because it's easier for them to put their portal in the back and just get to it than it is for the gate. I'll go over that when we get to the set. That's the bad overlapping green. But just so you know, Naoma, you're swapping. I'll make sure Zerda knows as well for this one. Other than that, I think people finally figured out their areas that they need to stand. For all of the soaks, there's 3 people that need to be in it. And then for this front one, I have 4 people. That means Evis will be covered when he's out. And then I'm going to step back to soak number 4 when Grim will be gone, just to make sure that that's covered. One of the things, I don't know if this video shows very well. Let's see. Yeah, so see how they have their healers like just hard stack here, Serene? We can do that as well. So we're just gonna have the healers
just
stack.
have everyone eat both.
Yeah. That means that we're gonna have a little bit heavier healing debuffs on them. But it's a lot safer just to make sure that there's like enough people in there. And you can all stand in your healing reigns and shit.
I mean, it should be like the same amount of total damage, right? Because it's split.
Yeah, the damage is the same. The healing absorb is going to be bigger.
Yeah, okay. That one's not that big, so that should be fine.
Okay. That's just going to make it much easier, and then we don't have to worry about fraud and the tanks being in like a weird soak issue.
Yeah, and we also don't have to worry about people not like if different healers, like healers that are supposed to be on the same spot, both get picked. It's less confusing.
Yeah, you just stack. And then the boss is going to be kind of stood in between these two, hopefully, once we get more comfortable. That means both melee can be in, and then it's also easier to jump into the other soaks because range will be closer to where they're gonna soak anyway. Remember, we move when the blue comes out. Don't leap over and sprint. Just try to go like nice and calm. We'll have movement speeds for those, just to make sure that you don't drop the puddles in front of where people are moving. Just kind of makes that a little cleaner and nicer to deal with. Once we get there, we reposition boss, do a soak. Then we do frontal bait. Then we do another soak. This set is extremely easy. We didn't have any issues with this, so I'm not really going to go over that. The final set is where we started getting to prog. So I'm going to go to that. So this is this final set. Let's see. Frontal, this would be Atreus' drop off for the second one. Again, we sit here, we wait. We're going to do one more set of soaks before we go in. So this is section 2. This last set of soaks, we soak here, and then the raid can immediately start moving. The tank holds just to make sure that this AoE goes in the right spot and then follows. See how there's some people kind of way ahead of the group. That's what kind of makes that a little cluttery. So you want to move as a team, like I said. And then here's where the positioning's a little weird. So range at this point can just stand over by the grate and be in position, getting ready to bait the frontal. The tanks are what's going to be doing the movement. Melee is going to move with that. That's fine. At this point, this is where I want the Warlock gate from where the range stack is. So that'll be like right in front of this gate out. And I want that Warlock gate to go from where we're stacking to this third soak. So you can put it like in between both if you want. That can be pre-placed. But I'm making sure people that can get to this back soak easily have that as their assignment. So Atreus, if you feel like you would rather go in this third soak and have both Warlocks and Grim in this far one, we can change that too, if that's ever an issue for you to get back to. Either way, I don't really care. It just changes 3 yards of movement. Also
I think it was
remember.
the sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it was the overlap. Like, is the overlap? Because last time the once or twice we got there, the overlap timing was like between the bait to the outside. It was like a second. Is
Yep.
that like?
It will always be that. So if you can't
Okay.
make that, we'll put both Warlocks in the back one. They can port. You'll go to the set 3 with Zerda.
Okay.
And that'll be with gate. So you'll have plenty of time to get there.
Yeah.
Would
Okay.
you prefer that?
Well, if it's because any delay, like it's how I get there quickly is the disengage. I can let you know. Let me see it
Okay.
a couple more times when we're actually not running around with our
Okay.
heads cut off.
Yeah, the moment, so if you watch, I'll play this out. This tank frontal is going to go here. Just don't freak out, right? Range is kind of waiting by the boss. Immediately after that tank frontal, you go to your bait spot. Here's where if you get these orange lines on you, you move out to get close to where you're going to have your soak in the back. Make sure you're not hitting where people are stacking. But you can pre-move because you cannot be targeted by this frontal if you have the rockets. So you can immediately move out, get in position. And then this is where we bait the frontal. So the moment that bait frontal timer goes off, you can gate. So if you look here, you have like 2 seconds or so to get to this back one. And this is also where people are already taking their gate. Where do I go to change the speed? So if we watch, frontal's happening, right? He goes to cast it. People are already taking the gate right there, right? So Atreus, if you want to stay, you'll have plenty of time to get there. Grim can teleport, or or whatever, blink. Warlocks can have their port preset here. If the boss is always in this position, this soak will always be here, right? So again, just to reiterate, it doesn't matter how close or far he is from the middle to the edge of the room. It's where he's standing in the ring, laterally, that matters for where the soaks are. So you'll have plenty of time to get out, get to this spot, soak, and then it always goes back to front for the soaks, so we always stay in. This is the one that Evis is out here handling this. He can soak, then go get his mine and go in if he wants, or he can be out. I have an extra soak here. Either way.
I do think one thing that some people are delaying, like with the orange lines. One of the things I noticed was they're delaying getting out with their lines, and it's making other people freak out with the bait. So I think that's one thing we need to emphasize, is people with the lines need to get the hell out.
Yeah, so if you draw like an imaginary line, like a rectangular box around the soaks and around like where the raid's standing, you just want to get out as quick as you can and not hit anywhere in that rectangle with your lines. That's like the best case scenario. Obviously they're random where they're pointed and everything. Biggest thing, you don't want to hit where the tank, the melee, and the baiters are at. If you get hit by the rockets that come from those, you do get knocked back. So it's very obvious to know if you've been hit by something. The majority of the time will be the person dropping off the orange lines' fault if you get hit. However, it's also on you to just, play smart with your eyes and stand out of the orange if you can. There's a lot of clutter at this point in the fight, so we just have to play that really carefully. Once we get this part of the fight down, it kind of ramps down a little bit in difficulty for the remainder of this phase. Immediately after that soak, Evis will drop off, and then ads will spawn. These are the ad sets that the tanks used to have to deal with differently. You have 2 of the bomb carrier guys, and you have 2 of the big tank buster ads. And then in the back, you have 2 of the floating guys. So here, we've got everything here that we have to kill. There will be 2 guys in the back that we also have to cleave down. Anybody that's in the back, range focus is down. We just have to make sure that there's kicks. Atries and Grim will be in charge of kicking the far back ads if they get any kicks off. The main ones that we care about are in the next phase anyway. So these are just kind of cleave down, kill ASAP. For this part, we will kill. I'm going to leave it up to the tanks if they want to move and add out. You used to have to do that to milk the timer on the mine. They did nerf that, so that way you don't have to do this mechanic anymore. But they might do it out of comfort. I'm just going to kind of leave that open. If the tanks want to drag an ad out, that means that we do not touch that ad at all. It remains untargeted, no cleave, no nothing. It needs to stay alive. The other ad will die. This will be Grim's mine that he picks up. So I'll play this out. So that's that ad leaving. And then here's where we're cleaving. We do a soak here. Healers, if we have the soak overlapping the melee soaks, that's okay as well. Having more people in that is fine. We're also having healing CDs devoted to topping people off post the debuffs. So more is not necessarily a bad thing. Just be ready for it if we do have overlap here. I've seen guilds overlap over on this side to the right. I've seen people get overlap here. Some people don't even overlap the soaks here at all. It's kind of preference. But if the boss is between all of these soaks, it kind of helps with getting everyone in position preset as well. So we do this. This Gigabomb's down. This would be the one that Grim picks up post the soaks. Here's going to be a big AoE. We're going to move in between. So this line right here that separates the 2 platforms. So on this raid plan, this line right here that separates. we're going to move directly to this outside part, and we're going to bait a frontal to the outside of the room on this line. So if you watch, raid moves out, we play it safe, right? And then boss is going to move. Everyone's baiting to this bottom left, getting ready for that movement. A tank bomb goes out. Immediately after that, he's going to move, and then he's going to do his frontal. So same thing as before. Get your oranges out, bait the frontal. These soaks are going to be for Grim to pick up. Immediately after picking those up, he runs off and dunks in orange. While this is happening, we're doing another soak. So again, this is the one that I'll be covering in the back for him being gone. So I'll just shift back here, and then he goes and dunks. For Mage, there's different ways that he can do it. All of them kind of lead to him altering back after dropping off his bomb. That's basically the end of this phase, right? So we do this soak, and then intermission and phase 2 starts. So that's going to be kind of like our first goal. And then we move into phase 2. Now, don't get confused by this graphic. Doesn't really matter how this is laid out, but it is going to be shifted. So we are technically bosses, technically here, and this is technically the blue. But again, it doesn't really matter. It's all just a mirror of itself. Boss is going to be at the edge. So if we watch, we do our soaks. We can have anybody AMS or whatever the spell bob thing is to get rid of those mines if we want. The off tank, so this will be Seb, picks up this mine that was left over here or over here, depending on if we kill it far away. And then this is the first ad set of the fight that kind of matters. So there's a lot of small ads that spawn. We're going to melee, just cleave all of these down. Then there's 2 sentries that spawn in the back. So again, this is the Atries and Grim kick ads that we're going to fight. All range devote most of their DPS to these back 2 ads. If they don't die, that's going to be a problem for us. This is all just kind of like the melee cleave. Range can, throw down some AoE cleave, but I want your main focus to be on these back 2. That's also in the note here. Oh, I have Zerda kicking, not you, Atries, sorry. So it's Grim and Zerda. We'll kick these 2. I think I have Atries on this one. Yeah, Atries, you'll be in for the set of 3 at the end of the fight if we make it to that. For those kicks, you want to kick as late as humanly possible. After you kick, they become immune to it. So hopefully we can kill them between the first kick and when they cast again. Is kind of the DPS check there. The only other thing that's happening during this phase, and I can get like a range POV for you guys after this of this phase, but if you look, there's these little blue circles that are spawning around the room. They always spawn on the circles and on the connecting lines between the pie slices for the entirety of the fight. What the circles do is they'll go down. When you see the circles, it's currently safe. Immediately after the circles go out, it's going to spawn electricity on the ground where the circles just were. Those do damage and I believe stun you if you step through them. So the majority of this phase is going to be learning the cadence of how you dance around the pie slice and how you move throughout this whole phase. As you can see, the boss has his beams, the rotating beams in this phase as well. Range, don't have to deal with it. This is a melee only thing that we have to deal with. Range are just standing as far back in this back pie slice as they can. And doing DPS and living and making sure they're dodging everything. For the melee, if you notice, if we all start on these ads, you're safe from this first beam. The second beam comes through. Then you have to dodge out and back in 1 time before this phase is over. So if you look, there's going to be a ton of circles that come out. I'll go over that in a second. But there's this little slot here that is safe. Immediately after those circles, you can run out, run back in, and then you're safe until the end of this intermission. Okay? And then we go to the next one. For range, let me get to this. Here. So for a range POV, as you can see, there's the same thing going on here. Oh, they just do damage. But then there's also the red circles coming through. And as you can see, they're going to go in a cadence of back to front to back to front. They're just going to keep popping back and forth. And then you just need to keep stepping back and forth between the back and the middle slice. Okay. That's all this intermission is just back and forth, back and forth. There's spots of safety that you can get through, and then there's spots of danger where if you're running through these, like if you're going to get hit by red or run through the blue, it's safer to run through the blue. But you need to probably pop a defensive to live, or make sure you're topped off, use a health stone, health pot, whatever for that part. Immediately following that is when you get into the kind of meat and potatoes of phase 2, which is actually really easy. So as you can see, there's the big frontals that you would typically get in the first phase of the fight. That's no longer there. So for this one, it's the same frontal soak that we do in Heroic. The only thing that is different at this point is people get a little circle around them. And if you stack on top of somebody else with a little circle, you cleave damage and it'll probably kill you. So make sure that you're spread out. We're going to have assignments for these soaks. Anybody who is assigned to a soak, pick a spot in that pie slice, and that's going to be your pie slice spot for the entirety of the fight. Okay. For those assignments, we have 2 pie slices that we're dealing with. Daze is on his paladin. I'll change that. Okay. So it's always going to go right, then left, right, left. Okay. There's 3 frontals per phase, and then we phase again, and then there's 3 frontals and 1 more pie slice. For these, anybody who has been a bomb carrier does not ever soak. So that's me, Evis, Atreus, and Grim. All of us stay out. The only time, Atreus, that I ever want you to play like a Hail Mary play is if you have Turtle and you feel like it's safe for you to get in a pie slice to save a wipe. I'm okay with you doing that, but that alone. Everyone else stays out. If we're dying at this part, it's a different issue. It's like mechanical execution. It's not really bleeding out or anything like that. For these, the first group is filled with mostly immunity classes plus Eerie and Topher. And that'll come up in a second. And then the other pie slice is just filled with DPS and people who are a little bit bulkier. Epo, Serene, and Zoms, you guys can help and cover if there's a person dead. But for the majority of the time, you're just staying out of all the pie slices, kind of hugging this center of the room. You can bounce back and forth. For the melee, we can hop back and forth behind the boss, behind each of the pie slices, just to make sure that we don't get hit throughout this phase. These give the same healing absorb debuffs that you would get in the other parts of the fight. So just make sure that you're aware of that. Healers are topping off these people, and we go through. After the pie slice beams, we're going to get the fire boots that you get when you move out of the blue shock mechanic of the boss in the first part of the fight. He's going to do a cast around him, and we have to move out again. So ideally, we're going to have people devoted to the outside pie slice, people devoted to the inside range pie slice, and then the melee groups. Outside just kind of goes along the edge of the room, just like this. The inside does the same thing in their pie slice, and then melee is going to step out and then around with theirs. Okay, so we kind of go out diagonally. You want to meet up with anybody who's actively running and run as a unit. Make sure you don't clip your friends during this part. So I'll play that out really quick. So we do a frontal. Again, people get that absorb debuff. Make sure they get healed off. And then we have fire. So this is the AoE circle around, right? We get out and then we move. So this team does it backwards from what I want us to do. We can go center and around. If you're far on the edge, you can go far out and then back in. The next mechanic that happens is these big AoE circles. These just want to spread. Melee, if we get these big AoE circles, we hug this corner up by the boss, and that leaves enough room for the rest of the melee. I believe there's a better POV of that on this fight. So again, go ahead and do that. He's going to do his AoE. Then everyone gets out as a unit. So if you look, their range start here, run out. This range starts here, runs out. These people start here, go diagonally out and down. Now immediately following, you get the big AoE circles around you. And then, like I said, melee, if melee get it, they just hug here and they hug here. And that leaves this little spot under the boss for the rest of the melee to be safe. And then once we get that, that's basically the end of the fight. So this is just going to be this whole thing on repeat. We'll get frontals to dodge. We get more swirlies to dodge. There's not really any safe position way to do that. You just spread out, make sure you're not hitting everyone else. Don't cleave people as much as possible. You know, take the frontal beams, you know, as close to the old electricity as you can. And then these Giga Blast frontals, just make sure you're not in these. For the tank, immediately after this frontal, you can go charge your mine if you want. But you can wait until after this goes off. Again, so you get one frontal on one side, frontal on the other side, and then the fight just kind of repeats itself. Everyone's getting out, everyone's running away as a team. And then we get to this one. So this next cone soak is the dangerous overlap. So we have big AoEs that come out around you, spread out just like normal. And then we have this cone. So if we watch, this cone comes out and these fire circles come out at the exact same time. So this is the last hard overlap, and this is why we have immunity people as well as Eerie and Topher in this group. So Topher's gonna cocoon himself in dispersion, or diffuse. I don't know why I put disperse. And then Eerie's gonna disperse himself, and then we're gonna have a second external on him. I don't remember if we had wings or sack on Eerie, Serene, but we can play that, you know.
He's got externals already assigned.
Okay. So yeah, so this is the external. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, so this is the external immune group. That's just because of this overlap. You can live this without a immunity if you're safe and you get to a nice spot, but it just makes it much safer to live through that. That one goes out. We do another frontal here. We get frontal 4. Keep going. Okay. Immediately after this fourth frontal, oh, I didn't go far enough. My bad. We have that immunities frontal. He's going to flip back. We'll do the fourth soak of this phase. So again, 2 per side. Did I not go far enough again? Jesus Christ. Okay. Last frontal. We do this soak, and then immediately after this frontal, this is where Seb is going to get ready for his drop-off. The rest of the raid is going to get out. We're going to do this spread. Anybody who is on this side of the room needs to prepare to leave this side of the room because this is going to be where the electricity gets dropped off next. So we're all moving into the green pie slice for the end of the fight. So we do this. he's going to do his run out. So we've got these. He's going to drop all these circles. Then immediately after that, the team is moving over to green, and then the tank is going to be dropping off his bomb. We wait for the gigacoils cast to go off. If you watch, we have gigacoils coming out in 1. That's when Seb's going to jump. He's going to leap out, go back. And by this point, when gigacoils is casting, everyone should be either moving out of this spot already or on their way, right? If you get stuck in this electricity, pop a defensive. It will kill you. And then, yeah. So we get to this part. There's another set of ads that we deal with, and then this is all the exact same. There's another ad and beam overlap here that we have to deal with. So here's the ad spawning. If we are quick enough, we can kill boss either before this happens, or as these ads are coming out, or shortly after the ads. It just kind of depends on what our DPS looks like at this point in the fight. Some people skip this whole ending pie slice altogether. Just kind of depends on where we're sitting. So we do ads. Again, if you're on the ad spawn melee, it's safe, just like before. You're doing the same thing, so you're baiting for this beam to come out. You're going to have a safe spot here to tuck out, and then go back in. And then you're safe. So this beam looks like it's going to come and hit you. If you're hugged up against this electricity, you're safe. You don't need to go out twice, just once. Range in the back are doing the same thing. They're dodging forward and back through the whole fight, making sure that you don't get hit by those. And then here is where the middle people, so Atries, Peppo, etc. If you're in this middle pie slice, you're just going to be bouncing back and forth, just so that way you don't get hit by this frontal. But these frontals play the exact same as what they did before. First group is normal. Second group gets hit. Third set, so the second round on the left side, that's the immunity one, and then we have this final one. Chances of us getting to that immunity soak are slim, so just be aware of that. That's it. Basically get to phase 2, and it's the same thing for like 4 minutes, and if we do it properly, boss dies.
Fun.
Yeah.
I love doing the same thing for 4 minutes.
Yeah. It's just everything, rinse and repeat. Big thing is making sure that you know where the fire's going. Again, it's all scripted. It's just a dance. So you're just going in and out. You should have the same movement every single time. Work with your range buddies around you so that way everyone knows kind of where you're going and where people are going to stand throughout the fight. But yeah, any questions? I mean, it's a pretty straightforward fight, so I wasn't expecting too much backlash, but
I think we should change everything.
no. Let's
All right, fair enough.
not do that. I'll go ahead and post this range POV as well into the Discord, so that way people can see this and use that kind of for their benefit. But yeah,
Solid.
people don't have questions. That's all I have for the fight.
Oh, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I think anyone can refer back to this too, which is a nice part.
Yeah, I'll stop the stream, and then once it's like officially up, I'll post that in the strat channel as well. That way people can watch. Also, people that did attend, thank you very much. I very much appreciate you coming out to my Abigail talk.
Abigail thought.